Welcome to The Fitting Room, a podcast by Lekondo. We start every podcast with the ritual of asking one simple question. What are you wearing today? I'm Hazel from Lekondo, and each week we're going to sit down with our friends, creators, our community to talk about stories behind what they wear. The funny, the messy, and the memorable. And today I'm lucky to be joined by Steam Geek, and I can't wait to dive in. Would you like to say hi?
Hi, hello. I'm Steam Geek. I'm the suit guy on Lekondo, so I'm really happy to be here.
Yeah, thank you so much. I'm really happy to have you. And so before we start, I want to set the tone of this podcast. So much of the fashion world is about trends, rules, and standards, right? And that can feel really normative or intimidating or really prescriptive. And here in Lekondo, we believe that style is personal, it's a journey, it's non-linear, it evolves, and the best outfit are the ones that make you feel most like yourself. And we're here to get raw and to get honest. With that in mind, let's begin with the question at the heart of the podcast. What are you wearing today?
I'm wearing a three-piece suit, so jacket, waistcoat, and trousers. I've fortunately found the waistcoat separated, but that's another story. I'm wearing a bow tie here, a Winchester shirt, which is a shirt with a white collar and a colorful body. And my slippers because I'm at home right now. So yeah, also gloves because I found them quite recently and I fancy them with a lounge shoes like that.
Yeah, they look really special. And where do you find the gloves?
I found them while I was on vacation. There was a military store, a surplus store, and these are actually parade gloves for the military. I use them as evening wear gloves and general fancy wear gloves. But yeah.
Yeah, would you care to share a little bit more about each item behind your outfit? Because I know you enjoyed like thrifting and like finding vintage pieces.
Yeah, most of them are thrifted or bought online or have a little bit of story. The suit itself was bought in my favorite thrift store, which is in Nancy, France. And it's from 1970s. It's a Jean Dolé, which is a French brand that vanished since. And it's funny because that suit has a really 40s style of cut. It's got full trousers. It's a 3-button jacket. It's got many details that point to earlier decades, and that's what I really liked about it. Because despite its modern construction and the fact that it's really comfortable as such, it's still got that vibe of vintage and classic. The only other story I would have is the waistcoat, because it was thrifted I'd say 2 years ago, and no, I bought it in flea market because I remember that it came with a jacket that I since repurposed as a blazer, and I had bought the two things for like $4, and I remember I was just at the start of my fashion journey, and I was like, "That's a steal! That's brilliant!"
Yeah,
So,
it is a steal. It is definitely a steal. You style it really well.
Thanks.
Yeah. Awesome. And if you have to describe your style in just a few words, how would you put it?
I like to joke that my style is antiquated because, well, I wear things that would most likely be worn by grandpa or grandparents or old people. And, well, that's true. I think there's a bit of influences from Ivy style, from earlier sartorial influences, and a bit of a Parisian style, as in something that's, put on like quickly in the morning and without really thinking much of it. It's really much like, oh, blue works with blue. That works. It's fine. And then I see something in my room and like, oh, gloves. Gotcha. And that's how I come up with many of my outfits.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I feel like you definitely have a unique story to tell in figuring out your style. Would you care to share more about it? How do you find your style? What's the journey like?
It's a long journey. Well, for me, I've started wearing clothes like that in 2023, so it's been almost 2 years now. It's quite recent, but I already have passed through many small niches in the sartorial style and suited up tailoring looks. I went from modern to ivy to other things, and I think the main thing that makes a change in style and looks is experience and just seeing on yourself every day, like that I like, that I didn't like as much, and so you evolve like that in long term.
Yeah, that's also a lot of progress that's made in the last like 2 to 3 years.
Yeah, it's funny because I wouldn't know where to find them, but I still have photos of me when I started, and every time maybe you have that for like all the photos where you're like, why did I wear that? That's cringe.
Yeah, I think we all have that at some point. Do you remember a moment or a person or people that on your fashion journey that shaped your fashion journey the most?
Besides the friends I've got on the internet, which are my most recent inspirations and the ones I use the most right now, there has to be a French influencer named Hugo Jacomet, who's quite known on our side of the pond, because he, despite his style, has made a thorough investigation of the tailoring world of France and Europe in general. So he went to the best tailors in Paris, in London, in Italy, in Spain, if I remember correctly. Well, he went all around, just looking around and asking, okay, what's your process? What's differentiating you from other maisons and everything? And I actually bought his books because they were a really interesting piece of information, and that was my earlier inspiration in style, because that's where I learned from, okay, no slim suits, that's not my style, and I can see that he wears something different, I'll try it. Often it resulted in a meh or a fail, but that's normal. Learning is through failure.
I think like for all of us, our fashion journey is sort of like ups and downs. We try different things, see what works. Is there like one significant, like one fashion mishap that's like you will never forget, that you laugh about, outfit disaster?
Yeah. So I think it was 1 year ago. I was in college at that moment, and I thought, hey, what happens when I wear two shirts, like dress shirts, one on top of the other? And it was ugly, just a mess. I remember it wasn't even based on any inspiration or Pinterest image or anything or anyone. I just went, what happens? Just full scientific experiment, and it failed horribly, and it was a mishap I will never do again.
Yeah. So what like you said, it's two shirts. Is like one
two dress shirts. I had a classic blue shirt, and over that I had a flannel shirt, which isn't quite an overshirt, but I passed it as so, and it didn't go well.
Do you feel like there is like a book or movie or artist or cultural reference that really influence how you dress?
As weirdly as it sounds, the latest Wonka movie is a big influence, and because if you look at the titular character, he's wearing a frock coat and a top hat and things that are clearly antiquated as we speak. Like no one's going out saying, "Oh no, I forgot my top hat. Of course, I must run home." No, that's not something that's done. But if you look at especially the villains in that movie, they got fantastic suits, especially I don't remember the names. There's one character that was a fantastic pinstripe suit, double-breasted one, and ever since I looked at the movie, I was like, I need that one. and it's something I'm still looking for today because it's a really nice inspiration, and I love to see how much attention to detail in the costumes and the outfits of the movie were put in.
Are there any like books or academic works that sort of like relates to your fashion journey?
Well, there will be the Hugo Jacome books, which are Parisian tailoring, if I remember correctly, which are all about the French houses of tailoring, how one evolves through that, what's the process behind them, what's their story, because often it's like, well, my father did that, so will I, and my son will do that, so will I, and so on and so on. And it's really about heritage, and it's a book I personally really enjoyed reading, because outside of the recommendations of houses that have outfits for like $10,000, which are obviously unattainable for the common man, it's just a nice inspiration because there are lots of pictures, lots of drawings. There's parts that are archive drawings of men's fashion pages and magazines.
Yeah,
It's really nice to see as inspiration.
I know that you just wrote us like a wonderful Substack editorial and about fashion history. Do you spend a lot of time like researching on the different fashion niches and the history of a piece?
I most likely do that when I get a new piece, like when I wear the gloves, when I had found boots, which I restored quite recently too, which are Balmoral boots. That's what people wear with like tailcoats and the formal wear of yesteryear, and that's when I look at this and I say, hey, what's that suit part on, say, the pants or the jacket or the shirt or any piece of garment? And it's really interesting because that leads me to go to like the library and ask for their oldest pieces of information on clothing, or going to like an expert I know that may know more on the subject. And it's really not only interested me in more pieces of clothing, but also in, so that's why some genuine geopolitical changes were made. That's why something is named like that. That's why stroller is named a stroller, or Straussmann, which is the same thing, but for Germans. And it's a whole thing. It's passionating, really.
Do you think like what's the relationship between fashion and politics? Do you think fashion is political?
It can be if done right. I'd say even recently there were still things about fashion politics. I wouldn't go in much detail because I don't think it's my place. But we can think of Obama and the cream suit, or was it a khaki suit that made all the rage, and oh no, a president can't wear something clearer than the royal blue. That's no, outrageous, or things like that. And as I said, the Straussmann is from politics originally, because it was a German politician who had to switch daily between his tailcoat for when he was in office and doing business, and his lounge suits, which were worn at the time at home or when having dinner or something like that. And so he said, I'm tired of always switching jackets and everything. So he wore just a black jacket instead of his tailcoat, and that's the stroller. It's known in English-speaking country. In Germany countries, in some parts of Europe, it's still known as a Straussmann, in the name of the politician. So some politicians have influenced the common wearing of clothes today.
That's super fascinating, because I think like when I read your article, I was also thinking about like I've just recently learned about the history of a necktie. So we have this other community member, like his name is Sam. He was talking about the history of a necktie. Like it used to be something like people wear in war. Apparently, it's something that soldiers wear as like a little like model.
Yes, the Croatian soldiers that passed through Paris. And Louis XIV, the king of France at the time, said, "Ooh, I like that. I'll wear one." And that's also where the name cravat in front came from. Because it was the Croatian soldiers, and the French called it la croate, which is the name for the Croatian thing, and it deformed into like cravats. So that's also why it's named that in French or other countries.
I feel like you've like acquired like an incredible like repertoire of like fashion knowledge on like where each piece of clothing comes from. Back to your personal story, do you have any memories, maybe from childhood or family or community, that shaped how you think about clothes?
The main thing that I remember having a thought of, wait, I can do that, and that's something fascinating, is I went through, I think it's next Sunday, there's the 2025 version of that. I went to a Steampunk convention in Luxembourg, and despite the venue, which is beautiful, it's an abandoned train station near mine, and when you go in there, it's outside and often it's sunny, it's beautiful. The people all wear stuff from the 1900s. Like genuine clothes or costumes that took 10, maybe 20 days to make. It's really a fantastic place, and I stopped and I think, wait, I can do that. I can start wearing clothes that are outside the norm. That's fun.
Yeah.
That's also what led me to buy my first tailcoat. But because I had just went back from that, and I, at the time, went to my favorite thrift shop, and then there it was, and I went, I know that, I've seen that last Sunday. That's how I bought it.
That's fascinating. I think like steampunk is just so interesting as like a concept and like as a subculture, because it's at the same time very like futuristic and like sci-fi, and it's very entirely speculative. And on the other hand, it's very retro. It's like steam engine. You think about the 1900s at the dawn of the Industrial Revolution. It's just like a fascinating combination of all these energies.
Right. Yeah. That's something that really drew me in when I first went there, and still today I think I'll attend the latest edition because it's so fun, and despite the weather today is not as nice, but I got my umbrella, I'm ready.
I think that's also partly like some of that convention, some of the tension between like something really like futuristic and shape silhouettes and but also something that's retrospective was also why we named the last week's Aura Wars theme was like future relics. I very much had that in mind when we like came up with that theme. It's like both sci-fi and being able to have a historical reference and balancing all of that. And I feel like I definitely see those influences in your outfits too.
Yeah, and when the last week's winner was announced, I was like, yeah, that fits the bill perfectly. They owned it. Let's see.
Oh, and speaking of the Aura Awards, you won like our first Aura Awards. Would you care to talk about the inspiration behind constructing that outfit?
If I must be honest, it was Sherlock Holmes who wore in the novels such an outfit where he's like, well, I like to wear evening wear, but I don't want to like have the full jacket on and everything. And at the time, I was sick, and I was like, I want to wear something comfortable, so I wore that, and I went, oh, but I've got my house robe, that make a fantastic jacket, and so I went. And I remember when I took the picture, I had like next to the phone on my balcony, I had a cup of coffee just because it's cold. Photo and down and back home. I'm a hobbit right now.
Yeah. Oh, it was a very striking piece, and like it's very colorful. It's like a very striking picture. It's very well done.
Thanks.
I was really excited when you won. I think it felt like a moment where like the community have spoken and they like chose this.
Yeah, I was a bit surprised to win because to me it was just something I'd wear occasionally if I. It's the comfort fit, if that makes sense. It's something I can go back to anytime I want to feel comfortable and at home.
Mm-hmm. Like, what do you think your clothes say about you in general?
I'd say that I can look stiff, but that's something I learned to harness, and since then I've learned to kind of stop that from happening with various details. And like one example is in my second latest outfit, you may have noticed a teddy bear in the pocket. I've got it here. It's something that I literally found on the ground, and I tried it. I said, well, I look stiff. Well, that feels a bit like Mr. Bean or some other figure, and it genuinely helped making me less stiff, because other than the vision of others in my head, I was like, I've got my body, I'm fine. I can go through anything. A nuclear bomb may happen. It's okay, I've got my body. And that's some things I still do, like fairly recently or every day, to make myself feel comfortable and make others feel comfortable about what I wear. Connects with the more antiquated part of my wardrobe, because although it looks stiff to a trained eye, for others it's a suit. It's, well, he was a suit, it's any old suit you could find anywhere. And so that helps with the idea of, well, he's a little bit more older. Maybe he's not as stiff as the guy I met last week that was in a modern suit supply suit or some other retailer. That's a thing I also learned, which is really great to learn and master.
I think like overall there's like a general impression when you look at your outfit as a whole, it's like fairly formal, sartorial and things like that, but when you look in the details of the collar, like the bow tie and the teddy bear, like there's like a lot of like nuance to how you style an outfit, and like have like some sort of like playfulness or contrast with like the general like formality of the outfit. Yeah, it's just, it is like really playful. I think I definitely get like some like vibe of like contrast and playfulness from how you generally style.
Yeah, it was a realization I had, I'd say, at the beginning of the year, because most of the time I just didn't feel like that was me. You know, it was too stiff, military-like, and I felt like I was wearing the wrong kind of uniform, where it's something that people may identify with the wrong values, or values that don't follow me. And I tried for a whole year to look around, see, okay, that works, that doesn't work. And that's one of the core aspects of fashion to me. It's trial and error, you know, trying and seeing, okay, that's something that I can replicate, and that's something I can fix.
This is a follow-up to the question to the previous one. When do you feel most like yourself in what you're wearing?
When it's quirky. Not in the sense that I need to have 10 billion details and be a maximalist about it, but when I've got something to say about the cloth, that's more interesting than just, I bought it for some huge amount of money, or it's that old, or that and so on. It's the thing as a story that's inherently interesting or curious, that it has quirks, or even the teddy bear, or something that might break the style of the outfit. It's like having a red dot in the center of a white page. It's instantly recognizable as something that's weird to find here.
And for people who are still trying to figure out their style, what advice would you give them?
Contrary to the things I found in the internet, I'd say look in your wardrobe and wait, okay, so you like that about your clothes, you like that about the fabrics or the patterns or the colors or the general impression you have of it, and then you say, okay, how can you combine these pieces with the help of the color wheel or some tutorial on YouTube or any page, or even asking a friend of yours, okay, what do you think looks good between that and that? I'd say pair of jeans or in a sweatshirt or anything, and then you can look like yourself without having to, buy a whole new capsule wardrobe or anything. It's the mistake I kind of made when starting my journey of like, well, I don't wear that anymore. I don't wear anything of the things I wore before. I'll get rid of them in any matter of way. And then I was like, wait, I kind of like that jean. I kind of like that t-shirt too. I have to buy a whole new one. That's something the mistake I made, and I would instantly regret.
Speaking of your closet, what's the most worn piece of clothing that you own?
That's a hard question.
It is. Or do you have a favorite piece or like a piece that comes to mind that you reach out for?
Every day I really enjoy that bow tie because it's a navy one. It's easy to incorporate in any kind of outfit because navy in the color spectrum is really easy to pair with yellow or grey, black, blue, white, any color you want. It's the backbone of my wardrobe, I think. So it's easy to combine. That of the trousers I'm wearing today, which are navy too.
I know you do thrifting a fair bit. It's like a new favorite piece that you recently discovered.
Well, the Balmoral boots I just talked about, which are really fun to wear because I wear fairly full trousers. So when you look at the side or the front, it's like, well, it's just or anything. And then you look closer and you're like, wait, it's a boot. It's not just an Oxford or a pair of shoes. It's got something interesting behind it.
Do you dress for yourself or do you dress to be perceived? So was there ever a time that you feel pressured to dress a certain type of way from like the perception of others, and how do you handle that?
I had that in my starting of my fashion journey when I had to visit members of my family or people I met more rarely. Because as one may know, when starting to wear something more eccentric or out of the norm of today, people are a bit judgy, oh, why do you wear like Sherlock Holmes clothes or stuff like that? And you look down, it's just a tie and a pair of trousers, and there's a bit of a question. But that's something I've tried to tone down my style for, or even Christmas evenings or stuff like that, where you have to meet family that doesn't come often.
That makes sense. Like, what about the positive side? Is there like a time when someone described your style and make you feel good and make you feel seen?
Yeah, because I had the chance to be a stylist for my local thrift store in an event, and I was like, well, I asked to be a model because I thought I'd wear the stuff well, but you wanted my style in your show, so I was a bit flabbergasted, and in the end it worked out well. But that's something I remember all day long, and just go, wait, I did that. That's something I still can't believe.
Yeah, congratulations. That's incredible.
Well, the organization was a bit wobbly, so it went really fast, and we had like 10 minutes to style 3 people and photograph them. So we had all the thrift store just to us, and we could pick and choose any piece. There were pins and stuff to fit the cloth more gracefully if it were too big or too small. I remember the thrift store had a working suit, which was a type of ladies' dress from the Netherlands, which has a top jacket and a skirt. And I remember just going, okay, I got assigned these 3 people. One of them was a women presenting person, and I went, okay, you're wearing that working ensemble because it looks brilliant. And in the end, it worked out great, and it fit her quite perfectly. I was stunned by that.
I feel like also like styling other people and styling yourself is also a different skill set.
Yeah, I feel not as confident as when I dress myself, when I dress others, and that's something that I've learned that day.
And you mentioned that you did a lot of research into different niches in the whole sartorial heritage niche. Can you talk about some of the niches you're particularly interested in?
The most niche thing I'd look into is fabrics, because as it makes sense, today we don't use the same fabrics as in the 1930s, be it from different sewing processes or different ways of making the cloth. If you look at a suit or any part of any tailored piece today, it's much lighter. The cloth is much thinner, and it's partly because in the 2000s and late 90s there was a fad of who can make the thinnest cloth possible, and it went from 100 microns to 180 and everything. If you look at a store and you see this garment was made with a super 180 or super 300 wool, that's the thinness of the cloth. Before the war, the Second World War and the First World War, you look at the cloth and it's thick as leather. It's really something I've had to learn, not the hard way, but in some way, because I picked up like an overcoat and it was like wait, that's a piece of armor, you know. I could stop bullets with that. I have since found that there's houses that still make these kinds of heavy, and it's just not advertised anymore because it's not fashion.
That's super interesting. And how do you go about finding those pieces? Like, is it just going through thrift stores? Do you like look online?
I go through a lot of thrift stores because, well, I'm in Europe. I'm a bit more lucky, but in the old continent, there's a lot of pieces that are 30, 50, 80 years old, and which still look great because most people just threw them in a cupboard or something and didn't look at them for 20, 30 years, and then only look at them and said, wait, I don't need that, and gave them to a thrift store or something. Preferred thrift store is one that doesn't go to big retailers of second-hand clothes. They go in the flea markets or people that sell their properties on their own houses or anything. And I found my first frock coat, which for the people that wouldn't know, is from the 1890s. So it's older than the Eiffel Tower, and just as old as the Liberty statue.
The Statues of Liberty.
Yeah. So it's something that's really interesting, and also I go there because there's a student discount. It's cheaper.
Yep, that's the best. That's the best, like, insider secret. I would be excited to see it when the seasons change.
Yeah.
In your outfits.
I'll surely wear it someday. I'm not sure how. Either I'll modernize it or wear it with a full-on dated look. That's to be determined.
I would be looking forward to that. Is there anything else that you would like to share? Advice, thoughts?
People, look at the history of your clothes because it's not as boring as it looks, and you may learn some way people wore it in the old day or how you can detach from that, and you'll have a better understanding of what you own, what you might want to buy, and what you might want to sell.
That's amazing. Thank you so much for sharing. And that's
Thank
it
you for having me.
Yeah, that's it for today's episode. And at the end of the episode, we like to give a little spotlight back to our guests. So where can people find more of your work or keep up with you?
Well, mainly on Lekondo, because that's where I post most regularly my outfits. I do have an Instagram, which is Lord Damien 4, Lord Damien 4, sorry, where I post, well, most outfits, and sometimes I repost stories on my stories. So yeah.
Yeah, wonderful. Yeah, I'll make sure to include that in the description. And thank you so much for joining us today and sharing your style journey. If you enjoyed listening, please make sure to follow the show or share it with a friend. Your support means so much to us. We'll be back with more stories and more outfits. Thank you so much.